The wind had a strange voice that night, low, stretched, vibrating through the tall grass like the tremor before a storm. For the early humans of the Valley of Echoes, such sounds were warnings written into the world long before they learned to scratch symbols onto cave stone. When the wind moaned, when the ground seemed to hum, when the birds abandoned the sky, some giant beast was moving in the dark. Tamar, a hunter barely 20 summers old, felt the vibration first through the soles of his feet. He crouched beside the shallow freshwater stream, gathering reed leaves for the evening fire. The tremor was faint, almost like the footsteps of a distant herd, yet slower, heavier, deliberate. He froze. The reeds stopped whispering. Even the insects fell silent. Tamar, his sister, Asha, approached with a bundle of dried fish. "Why do you stare at the river like that?" He hushed her with a gesture. Asha listened. At first she heard nothing, only wind. Then the sound reached her too, a deep, rhythmic thump, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. They both knew this pattern. A giant was coming. Their tribe had lived beside giants for generations. Not dragons or mythical beasts, but real creatures. Massive and dangerous descendants of prehistoric titans that still roamed isolated pockets of the world a million years ago. The elders called them thunder lizards because their steps shook the ground, and because their bellow could collapse a bird from the sky. These creatures wandered the valley only at night, feeding on the soft leaves of the towering cycads and low pine ferns. But thunder lizards were blind. Their small, milky eyes saw only vague shadows. They hunted by scent and sound. And humans, small, warm, noisy, smelled like prey. Asha grabbed Tamar's wrist. "We must warn the clan." "No," Tamar whispered. "It's too close already. If we shout, if anyone moves too fast, it will charge blindly. We need to distract it." Asha stared at him as if he had lost his mind. Distract a creature the size of the meeting rock? With what? Our bare hands. Tamar lifted his spear. Its tip was stone, carefully chipped into a razor edge. It looked pitiful compared to the bulk of the monster approaching from the forest line. "I have an idea," he said. They retreated slowly toward a cluster of boulders, one of Tamar's favorite lookout points. The thunder lizard's silhouette emerged from behind the trees. It was massive, nearly 8 human lengths from snout to tail. Its back rose like a moving hill, muscles rippling beneath thick mottled skin. Each step sank deep into the soil. Asha trembled. "We cannot fight that." "We don't need to kill it," Tamar replied. "We just need to make it turn away." He pointed at a mound of fallen logs and dried vines near the boulders. Lightning had struck that spot earlier in the season, leaving scattered charcoal. Tamar had learned that burning would release a smoke the thunder lizards hated, perhaps because it reminded them of volcanic ash. Asha understood immediately. "We start a fire." "But not here," Tamar said. "Too close. We circle around it. We light the fire on the opposite side, so it follows the smell and leaves us." That meant one thing. Tamar had to get close to the beast. Before Asha could protest, Tamar slipped into the tall grass, moving low, silent, like the predators of the plains. Every step he counted. Every breath he slowed. The thunder lizard snorted, swinging its massive head as its nostrils tested the air. Its tail dragged behind, carving a deep line in the earth. Tamar's heartbeat felt like a drum inside his skull. But he crept closer, using the shadows cast by its enormous body as cover. He could hear its breathing now, wet, heavy, like air moving through a swamp. He swallowed his fear. Then suddenly the beast stopped. Its head jerked in Tamar's direction. Had it heard him? Smelled him? Tamar froze. Even blinking felt too loud. The creature sniffed again, puzzled. After a few moments, it resumed walking toward the camp. Tamar exhaled very slowly. He reached the fallen logs and crouched behind them. His hands trembled as he pulled out Asha's flint rocks. He struck them together. Sparks flickered. Again. Again. A tiny ember landed on the dry grass. It smoked, then glowed. "Come on," he begged silently. "Burn." A breeze swept through, feeding the ember. Flames licked up, slow at first, then faster. Soon thick, gray smoke poured into the air. The thunder lizard stopped mid-step. Its nostrils twitched. Then it bellowed, a sound so deep Tamar felt it vibrate in his ribs. The beast turned, swaying its long neck toward the smoke. It stepped away from the camp, away from Asha, following the scent with nervous agitation. The more the smoke grew, the more it retreated. It worked. Asha ran to Tamar's side, tears of relief on her cheeks. "You're insane," she whispered. "But you saved us." Tamar finally let himself breathe fully. Let's go home. The thunder lizard disappeared into the tree line as the fire crackled behind them. The tribe was safe for the night. But the valley had changed. The beasts were wandering closer, bolder. Something in the deeper forest must have driven them out. A drought, a predator, or perhaps something even more terrifying. The humans of the Valley of Echoes were used to surviving. But the world around them was shifting faster than their stories could explain. The night of the thunder lizard was only the beginning. The morning sun spilt over the horizon like molten copper, warming the plains after a bitter night. Du glistenit on every blade of grass, and the air carried the distant cawls of migrating birds. The people of the Valley of Echoes emerged from their shelters slowly, stretching stiff limbs and rubbing sleep from their eyes. But Tamar did not sleep. Not after what he saw at dawn. He stood at the edge of the camp, staring at the enormous paw prints pressed into the soft earth, prints too large, too deep, too purposeful to belong to an ordinary predator. Each was the size of a human torso, the claws leaving grooves like the fingers of a buried hand reaching from the soil. A shadow lion had passed through the valley. The name was whispered with fear, even by the bravest hunters. These were not ordinary saber-toothed cats. Shadow lions were ancient beasts broad-shouldered, hulking, with curved fangs lowing than a man's frame. Their fur was dark, absorbing moonlight like the night itself clung to the air. They moved silently despite their size, stalking prey with terrifying intelligence. And they hunted not for hunger alone. Sometimes they killed out of irritation, rivalry, or territorial instinct. Tamar knelt beside one of the prints and placed Vichay's hand inside it. Vichay's fingers looked like the marks of a child pressed into the trunk of an adult. Asher approached from behind, carrying a basket of herbs. Her eyes widened when she saw the tracks. Not again, she whispered. Yes, Tamar said. It circled the camp before dawn. Why? Has it lost its fear of fire? Maybe hunger drives it closer. Maybe something pushes it from the deep forest. Asher shivered. What do we do? Before Tamar could answer, a hornchal echoed through the plains the deep, resonant cry of the elder hunter, Ralkar. All tribes people stopped what they were doing and turned toward the central fire. The clan gathered quickly. Ralkar towered over most of the hunters. Vichay's beard fell to Vichay's chest, streaked with grey, and Vichay's arms were thick with old scars marks from battles against beasts now long dead or driven away. He pointed Vichay's spear at the tracks Tamar had found. This creature grows too bold, he said. Last night it killed 3 of our horses. It dragged the Aram north. If we do nothing, it will begin hunting us. We must strike first. A murmur rippled through the tribe. To hunt a normal big cat was dangerous. To hunt a shadow lion was nearly suicidal. Tamar stepped forward. I will join the hunt. Asher grabbed Vichay's arm. You don't ever know how many nights it has stalked us. You nearly died fighting the thunder lizard. Tamar met her eyes, combat resolute. If we do nothing, it will return. We cannot live in fear forever. Asher laughed her gaze. She knew he was right. Ralkar nodded approvingly. The young hunter has courage. We move at midday, when the sun is highest and shadows are smallest. That is when the beast is weakest. By noon, the heat shimmered above the cricket soil. 5 hunters departed the camp, Ralkar, Tamar, 2 experienced brothers named Yera and Tul, and a quiet tracker named Mirin. All carried long spears hardened by fire, slings with smooth stance, and blades of chipped obsidian. But weapons alone would not bring down a shadow lion. They needed cunning. The trail led the Aram across the plains, past clusters of cycads and thorn bush, into a rocky outcropping where the land dipped into a dry riverbed. Bones littered the ground. Baur, horses clinched and shattered by massive jaws. Aiden. Mirin crouched beside claw marks carved deep into stone. The beast is close, she whispered. Ralkar signaled everyone to spread out. Tamar climbed one of the boulders for a higher vantage point. The air was unnervingly still. Even the insects seemed to avoid this place. Then he saw it. A shape moved in the far shadow of the cañon walls, deliberate, immeasurably large. Its fur blended with the stone like melted darkness. To elongate the fangs glinted like ivory knives as the creature stepped into the light. The shadow lion. Tamar's breath caught. The beast was even more terrifying up close to his muscle, shoulders rolling in powerful waves beneath fur as dark as midnight. Its eyes were pale yellow, almost human in their thoughtfulness. This was a creature that understood danger, strategy, and killing. Ralkar raised his hand silently. The plan they had agreed upon. To land Yera would circle behind it, using slings to distract it. Trmar would draw its charge, luring it toward a narrow gap between two rocks. Ralkar and Mirin would strike from higher ground once the lion committed to the chase. A plan built on timing, coordination, and luck. The shadow lion sniffed the air. Tamar's heart hammered. He tightened Vichay's grip on Vichay's spear. Suddenly the beasts had snapped toward the hunters. A crouched la, muscles coiled. 1080 sprang. Not at Trmar, but at Tul. The lion moved faster than any human could run. Tul flung himself aside just as Klaus' rocket through the space he had occupied. Yera shouted and hurled stance with Vichay's sling the rocks cricket against the lion's ribs, enraging it. Trmar jumped down from the rocks and shouted, "Here. Come here." The lion wheeled, eyes locking onto him. "Good. I teacher Jede." Trmar ran, forcing himself toward the narrow gap between the two boulders. He could feel the ground shake behind him. He reached the gap and rolled aside just as the lion lunged. Its massive body slammed between the rocks, leaving it momentarily stuck. This was the opening. "Now!" Ralkar roared. Mirin leaped from the ledge above, stabbing her spear downward into the lion's shoulder. The beast bellowed in rage and pain. Ralkar followed, driving Vichay's spear deep into its flank. But the shadow lion was not a creature to die easily. With a violent twist, it freed itself from the stance and swung its massive paw. The blow struck Ralkar, sending him crashing into the dirt with a sickening thud. "Ralkar!" Trmar cried. The lion turned toward the fallen Eldritch ice cold, hungry. Trmar dashed forward, screaming to draw its attention. Without thinking, he hurled Vichay's spear. It struck the beast just below the throat, not deep enough to kill, but deep enough to wound. The lion roared and charged him again. Trmar grabbed a fallen branch, barely long enough to use as a weapon. The lion lunged and Trmar jammed the branch into its open mouth, forcing its jaws apart. The beast shook violently, trying to snap the wood, trying to reach him with its claws. Mirin and Yera attacked from behind, stabbing repeatedly. Tul took Ralkar's spear and thrust it into the lion's ribs with every ounce of strength he had. The lion finally collapsed. Its breath grew shallow. Its eyelids drooped. With one last shudder, the ancient beast fell still. The hunters stood round its body, panting, hands shaking, clothes soaked with sweat and blood. Trmar sank to Vichay's knees, overwhelmed by exhaustion and the realization that they had survived what few humans ever faced. Ralkar groaned, still alive. Snow fell in slow, silent flakes, drifting across the endless plain like white ash from a dying fire. Winter had arrived early that year too early. The rivers froze before the salmon returned, berries withered on their branches, and the herds of deer migrated far to the south. Food became scarce. Fires burned low. The tribe survived on the last of their dried stores. And that was when the mammoths came. The mammoth plains stretched 4 miles across the valleys northern edge flatlands of frozen soil and DRY grass, dotted with ancient boulders carved by winds long gone. Each year, the mammoth herds moved across this land peacefully, thundering past in magnificent waves that shook the ground. The tribe admired Teeram from afar. They never hunted mammoths unless desperation forced Teeram. Such a hunt risked the lives of many. But desperation had come. Trmar stood atop a ridge overlooking the plains. At each side stood Ash, bundled in a cloak of iron from the fur of the shadow lion they had slain weeks earlier. She stared at the horizon, where shapes dark, massive shapes moved slowly through the snow. Mammoths. A whole herd. At least 20 of the Aram, towering creatures with shaggy brown fur, long curling tusks, and ancient eyes that reflected snow and sky. They moved like mountains with legs, their breaths visible in long, misty bursts. But something was wrong. "Here are restless," Asher whispered. "Look at how tightly they gather." They feel hunted. Tramar nadit. Or here trying to protect something. As if answering his taud, the largest membrane in arms bull vistos as long as a carnubilade a deep, rumbling CRY. It a quarter across the plains like distant thunder. Tamar's heart tightened. That bull had been named the old storm by elders years before. It had lived a longer than any memory in memory. It was calm, wise, and fiercely loyal to its heart. Its presence here meant only one thing. The heart was looking for new feeding grounds. And the valley stood in their path. The tribe gathered at the meeting rakas the snotty kinede. Ralkar, which's ribs now burned tightly from which's fight with the shadow lion, leaned heavily on a wooden staff. The members come closer each hour, he said. If the herd crosses through our shelters, they will trample everything our homes, our fires, our children touch. A murmur of fear spread through the crowd. We must turn to Aram Rui, Ralkar continued. Or the winter will destroy us touch. Tramar stepped forward. We don't have to kill the Aram. Members survived fire. If we get the Aram across the eastern flats, they will pass us by white off. Another hunter shook his head. The eastern flats are narrow. If the members panic, they will stampede. We would be crushed touch. Better stand the whole camp, Tramar replied. Asha's eyes flicked toward him, filled with both pride and fear. Ralkar nodded slowly. Tramar speaks truth. We will not fight the herd. We will move it off. The plan was simple only in words. Create a line of fire that would redirect the members around the valley, guiding the Aram toward the open plains beyond. Not close enough to burn the Aram, just enough to push the Aram gently. But if the herd panicked, if a single spark leaped the wrong way, if the bull charged, the tribe could be destroyed. Still, there was no choice. The hunt but not for killing began. The snow ceased by dusk, leaving a sky streaked with purple clouds. Tramar led the fire line, carrying a torch made from woven reeds sucked in resin. Asher and 8 others followed, each bearing their own flame. The members stood only a few hundred pieces away now, swaying their massive heads. The old storm washed the humans with a calm, ancient respiration. Tramar swallowed hard. Begin here, he said quietly. They moved in a long arc, setting DRY grass and brush alight. Flames crackled in thin lines, casting orange light across the snow. Wisps of smoky rosy, carried by the wintry from the members, just as Tramar had hoped. Asha's hands trembled slightly as she touched her torch to a thorn bush. Do you think it will work? It has to, he answered. The fire line grew, stretching like a glowing serpent across the plains. The members noticed immediately. Their trunks lifted. Their ears flapped nervously. A ripple passed through the herd. The old storm stepped forward, trumpeting loudly. Tramar held up his hands. We mean you no harm, he whispered, though he knew the words were meaningless. Please, turn right. The bull members stamped once, twice snow pleading beneath its massive feet. The herd shuffled behind it. 10. Slowly, the variant turned. A deep rumble spread among the members as they engirdled their bodies toward the open plains. One by one, the herd began moving around the fire line, exactly as planned. Relief spread throughout Tamar's chest. Until he heard a scream. Yira came sprinting from the far end of the line. A cave is separated. Tamar's blood froze. He looked. And there, near the center of the field, stood a young man, small by members standards, but still twice the size of a human. It trumpeted in panic, stumbling in circles. The smoke and fire confused it. Worse, ice beneath its feet cricket with each step. If the cave fell into a crevice, the herd would turn back. And then the valley would be trampled. I got it, Tramar said instantly. Asher grabbed Davich's arm. Nah, Tramar, you can't outrun a herd. I don't need to outrun the Aram, he said. I just need to reach it first. He plunged into the snow, sprinting toward the trembling cave. The ground shuddered as the members sensed danger for one of their own. The old storm trumpeted and began to turn back. Nah, Tramar shouted desperately. Not that way. He reached the cave, hands raised, speaking soothingly. Easy, easy. The creature whimpered, trunk brushing against Tamar's chest. Iets ver was warm, thick, and quivering with fear. Tremar began moving, guiding Katie gently with witch's hints, nudging Katie away from the fire line and toward the sound of its mother's trumpet. Behind him, the ice cricket loudly. The old storm charged. Not at Tremar, but toward the cave. A mountain of mussel thundered across the plain. Tremar dove aside as the bull lumbered past. Snow blasted into witch's face. The cave ran toward the bull, and the old storm nudged it back into the heart with a gentleness that defied its size. Tremar exhaled a breath he didn't know it held. The heart now hit what they needed. Together, they turned away from the fire line once more and moved toward the open plains of the north. This time, nothing stopped the alarm. The old storm paused once, its enormous form silhouetted against the moonlit snow. It looked at Tremar, really looked its deep eyes reflecting firelight and understanding. A moment passed between man and beast. Not fear. Not hostility. Resignation. Then the great mammoth turned and followed the herd.